Hi, my name's Paul Grogan and welcome to the Gaming Rules Monthly Roundup video log, whatever you want to call it, for May 2021. As always, this video log is going to be covering all of the games that I've been playing since the last video log, which is about 4 or 5 weeks time. Some other stuff that I've been up to and a look ahead as to what's coming in the next few weeks. As always, a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters who make these videos possible and a lot of the other content that I create. If you are interested in supporting the channel and you like the content that I create, then I do rely on the financial support of my Patreon page to basically, make videos like this and a lot of the other videos that I'm making. So please check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/gaming rules. Right, we're going to start first of all with an apology that this is a bit late. I was planning to do this last week. The last couple of weeks have been really weird. I might go into this later on or I might not because it's a bit long, rambly and not altogether good. But yeah, I was going to do this last week and then I was going to do it yesterday. Anyway, we're getting it out of the way today. And this is, everything that I've played up to this week. Now, it isn't going to include the game that I'm playing tonight, even though this video log is probably going to go out after tonight's video. But anyway, let's start with Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. Now, we've only played this twice since the last video log, which is, about 4 or 5 weeks. We were playing this weekly, but me and Vicky have had a course that we've been doing on a Tuesday night. For the last few weeks, and Tuesday night was our regular sort of Gloomhaven night where we got together. A couple of times we did manage to fit in a game outside of our regular Tuesday nights just to try and keep the momentum going. The course is now finished and we are due, well, in fact we've talked about doing it this weekend, so we might be able to squeeze in a game this weekend. Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, loving it, absolutely loving it, and as I've mentioned on the previous video log, potentially a better game overall than Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven is obviously the bigger game and there's a lot more content in Gloomhaven, but I think Jaws of the Lion is a better all-round put together package, which makes sense because obviously Isaac's got other people working with him now and time has been spent and he's had time to reevaluate a couple of things. Nothing wrong with Gloomhaven, apart from the shared gold thing. But yeah, Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion is just great. And if you don't have Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, but you like Gloomhaven, you should get it. It is, as I've said before, I was umming and ahhing. I thought, well, this is just Gloomhaven Light. If I like Gloomhaven, why do I need to get this? But actually, once you've got past the initial few tutorial scenarios, the scenarios, I think, I would go out on a limb and say every scenario we've played from Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion has been as good, if not better, than any scenario I've played from the base game. They're really good. They're really good from a story point of view and the way that they're done. The scenarios are really interesting. Now, our characters are at level 4 at the moment. We're going to carry on playing it for the foreseeable future. I don't know how much content we've got left to cover. We do want to play all 25 scenarios in the game, and I think we've played about 12 or 13. So even though some of them are locked off because of choices that we've made in the campaign, we probably want to go back and play those scenarios at some point in future. Anyway, that's Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. Only a couple of games, but might be playing it this weekend. And if not, we'll be carrying on next week. Next one is Too Many Bones. So every month on the second Wednesday of every month, second Wednesday of every month, I do a Too Many Bones. Too Many Bones is one of those games that I knew it had a learning curve and it required repeated plays, in fairly quick succession to let the rules embed in. And it's a game which I tried to learn a few times over a couple of years period, but it just didn't settle. And every time I got into it, I had to relearn it. Anyway, this year, as many of you will know, I've been on a Too Many Bones game marathon. And I did like 3 or 4 in January, and then I've been doing it every month since. So the one that I did in April, this is actually April, was Tantrum versus Gendrix. So Tantrum is one of the gearlocks from the base game. I had played Patches a couple of times, then I played Boomer a few times, and then I've played Tantrum a few times. And I was playing against Gendrix, so that's the last of the tyrants from the original base game. So I've been through all 7 tyrants from the base game. I can't remember, it was so long ago. I remember it being good. I remember enjoying it. I can't remember if I won or not. But anyway, that's on the channel now. In fact, all of my Too Many Bones videos are on the channel. There's 8 of them in total for this year. To be honest, if you find any of my older Too Many Bones videos, I would probably not watch them. I would stick with the new ones because I'm a lot more comfortable with the rules and they're a lot more polished. Moving on to the 16th of April, I had a couple of games. I did Dominant Species Marine. Now, I'd played Dominant Species Marine the week before, and unfortunately, we got one of the rules wrong. It was still a fine playthrough, but we got the number of cubes that you put on the different types of terrain wrong. So we decided to meet up the week after, and we played Dominant Species Marine. So that's on the channel now, if you want to see a 3-player playthrough of that, using the correct rules this time. Now, Dominant Species is a game which I'm a big fan of. Yeah, huge fan of Dominant Species, think it's a great game. Dominant Species Marine is a slightly shorter, slightly tweaked version. It only takes 4 players. Now, I think there is a room for both games in the collection, but I think it's fair to say that if you like one, you might not like the other one. Whilst a lot of the mechanisms are similar, Dominant Species Marine theoretically plays in a slightly shorter time. It does only go to 4 players. Obviously, it has a different theme. But the way that the actions work, instead of Dominant Species, where you are you place all of your workers in the area, and then once they're all placed, you then resolve them from top to bottom. In Dominant Species Marine, you place a worker and then resolve the action immediately. So it has a very, very different feel to it. The game is a lot more dynamic, but I have to say I think the game is a little bit more random as well. Because in Dominant Species, things like extinction and survival and things like that, you can plan for it. You know when it's coming at the end of the round. Well, because there isn't really an end of round in Dominant Species Marine, those events happen when certain icons are on cards that are revealed from the top of the deck. So you don't know when it's going to go. And certainly in the few games I've played of it, as I say, I do enjoy the game, but some of the games I've played of it have been a little bit skewed because it's like, oh, a card's come out, oh, and it's the extinction card. Or you know, it's a card with a thing which means all of my pieces there die. Whereas in Dominant Species, you could manage that, you could prevent that and everything else. So yeah, a little bit swingy on the turn of the card sometimes, but still a very good game. On the 18th of April, we went round to some friend's house. So in the UK, we're still under various lockdown restrictions, like many people, because of the coronavirus pandemic. But earlier in April, they eased the restrictions so that we could meet up with other people outside. Okay, you can now meet at the time of recording this video inside, but on the 18th of April, we were able to go around to Nick and Gemma's house and we sat outside in the garden, we had a chat, we had some food, very nice vegetarian sausages, and we played a couple of games. The games we played were Ingenious and Letter Jam. Now, Ingenious, I have a story to tell about this game. It's a very popular abstract tile laying game by Rainer Knizia. And this is a game which means something to me because it's... So I was at Essen when this game came out, okay? Now, I'm a Eurogame player. I like my resource conversion. I like my worker placement. I don't play abstract games, okay? And I remember being at Essen and seeing this game, and they had a big display of it, you know, oversized pieces and everything else. And I walked past it and they went, oh, it's Rainer Knizia. And I went, don't, abstract games. Wrote it off, absolutely wrote it off. No interest in it, was on my, like, not really on a high horse, but you know, like, oh, no, I don't play games like that. It's just putting tiles down and yeah, I don't play games like that. I'm not interested at all. And then about a year later, maybe even 2 years later, I took part in the Eurogame Championship qualifiers, and our team qualified to get through to the Eurogame Championship, which is held every year at Essen. And as part of that, our group got given a few games, and one of them was the Finnish version of Genial or Ingenious. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I remember this game. This is a game that I dismissed. Anyway, it's amazing. I rate the game, I think, like a 9.5 out of 10. I have played it dozens and dozens and dozens of times with so many different groups, both gamers and non-gamers. And this is why it's a memorable game for me, because I remember back to when I just brushed it off, dismissed it, and went, not interested in that, to going, oh, wait a minute, this is actually an extremely good game. So yeah, really, really good. Now, I do think that it's best as a team game. I personally don't, I mean, it's great as a 2-player game, but I find that the 4-player game, the board changes too much before it's your turn, and therefore it's a little bit more reactive rather than planning. Whereas the team game, 2v2, well, regular viewers of mine will know that I like team games anyway, so that's what we played. We played the 2v2 game, and yeah, I didn't win that one. Vicky beat me, I think. Then we played Letter Jam. Now, Letter Jam, it's a game from CGE. It's a game which I was a developer on, but I absolutely love Letter Jam, and it's such a fantastic game, and I'd not played it in a very, very long time. So it was really good to go back to it. And the game of Letter Jam went like many, many games of Letter Jam did, where everybody thought they'd worked out what their word was, and then when you reveal the cards afterwards, you're like, oh no, wait a minute, I got this letter wrong and this letter wrong. And certainly with me, some of the clues that were being given, I was like, oh yeah, that's obviously this. And there was one word and I can't remember what it was, and they explained it afterwards, and I was like, is that even a word? And they're like, yeah, it's a word. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'd never heard of that word. But yeah, really, really good fun afternoon, really, really good game. Right, next up, Florence. So this is on the 21st of April. This was a sponsored playthrough as part of the Kickstarter campaign for Florence, which ended yesterday. And was really successful, so I'm really happy to have been involved in this. This is the latest game from Braincrack Games. As I say, it was on Kickstarter, it's just finished, but there's a trilogy of games. There's Ragusa, there's Venice, and then there's Florence. And yeah, we played Florence. So Russell Chapman for Chits and Giggles. Russell hosted this video. He'd previously learnt the game, then he taught me how to play in the afternoon, and then we did a live stream where it was me, Russell, and the designer of the game. And we all played it. So if you're interested in Florence and you want to learn how to play Florence, that's on the channel now. It was using Tabletop Simulator because obviously remote play is all we could do at the moment. But yeah, that's there. And as I say, Kickstarter finished yesterday. Congratulations to Braincrack Games for running a good Kickstarter. And I'm very keen to get a final copy of that game in the months ahead. Next up, 23rd of April, and also on the 5th of May is Cloudspire. Now, Cloudspire I have named as my #1 favourite game of 2019. I think Cloudspire is amazing. I absolutely love the game. And this was pre any professional involvement I had with chip theory games. I just think Cloudspire is a fantastic game. And I'd not played it in a long time. But all of the new expansion stuff arrived. So I was like, oh right, okay, I've got this new expansion stuff. I really want to get back to Cloudspire because I really, really loved it, and it's been so long since I played it, so I started playing it again. And I started playing it and I did a couple of solo games. So I've done the first 2 solo games of the Brawnen campaign, but I've done them with other people. So the first one that I did was a 2-player solo playthrough with Tom Heath from Slicker Drips. And if you're wondering how that works, it's very simple. It's 2 people playing the solo game together. That's what it is, because Cloudspire is one of those games where, although it's a solo game, I personally feel it's best played with 2 people who are talking about, oh, what should we do? Should we do that? And really, really discussing their ideas. I'm a big supporter of multiplayer solo games. You know, there's not many people doing this. I do it because I just think it's great, and I've done it. I've done it for a couple of Vital Lacerda's games in the past, and I want to carry on doing it. So yeah, the first one was with Tom Heath. The second one was with Mark Dainty from Not Board Gaming. And in fact, the first one I did was a dual stream. So Tom was live streaming it to his channel, whilst I was live streaming it to my channel, and we were both playing the same game together. And we were sharing our screens with each other. So that we were playing the same game. It wasn't like we were both playing the solo game at the same time. We were literally both playing the same game, and Tom was mirroring what I was doing, and we were Tom was rolling the dice for us, and etc, etc. Anyway, they're on the channel, and there's going to be another Cloudspire solo game probably next week. I don't know whether I'm going to do that one properly solo or with somebody else. I will find out. Right, next up is the 26th of April, and this is Keeper at Sea. So this is another Kickstarter. Keeper at Sea, Kickstarter from Richard Breeze, which has now finished. Yeah, I think it's finished. Yeah, that finished last week. So Keeper at Sea is the expansion to Keeper. And I'd already done a video on the game, but there is a solo mode included. So Keeper at Sea, it is an expansion that introduces a whole load of new stuff, but it also includes a solo mode for playing Keeper or Keeper at Sea Shallow Water. So I did a video of the solo game of Keeper. So it was it was to tie in with the Keeper at Sea Kickstarter, but the solo playthrough I did was just the base game of Keeper, which was mind-blowing enough anyway. So yeah, that was really good. If you want to see how the solo game of Keeper works, that's on the channel now, 26th of April that was. Right, next, on the 27th of April, I started a new series, accidentally, sort of. So one of the games that has been clawing at my mind for the last 2 months is the Pathfinder adventure card game. I have been so desperate to play this game again that occasionally, whenever I'm taking a short lunch break or something like that, I will get the cards out and look at them and then put them away again, right? This game has been, as I say, bugging me for a couple of months that I really, really want to play it again. So I decided that I was going to do a playthrough of it. Now, unfortunately, where I am at the moment is I'm finding it difficult to find all of the time to fit in all of the things that I want to do. I'm sure a lot of people are in the same boat. And I was thinking, oh, right, Pathfinder adventure card game, it's really better with 3 or 4 people. I think the game really shines at 3 or 4 people because you get the interplay between the characters and where one character is weak, like if you come across a big heavy door and you need a strength check to get through it, and if you're playing a weak character, you're going to struggle. So I really think it shines at 3 to 4 players. But coordinating any kind of remote playthroughs with multiple people, the admin and overhead on that has become draining for me. I mean, I've done a lot of it in the past, but it became draining. So I was umming and ahhing of what to do. And then I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll just do a solo playthrough. Because you can play this game solo. And unlike other games, like Gloomhaven, for example, if you play Gloomhaven solo, you have to play 2 characters. In Pathfinder adventure card game, you can play pure solo with 1 character. Now, a lot of people multi-hand it and play 2 characters or 3 characters for the reasons that I explained. But you can play it solo. So I thought, I'll give it a go. We'll see. We'll see how this works. And I loved it. And it was really good. And I've done 4 of them and I'm doing another one on Monday. I am going to play through the entire of the Dragon's Demand campaign. So that's going to run for another 5 weeks on the channel. But if you're interested in a solo playthrough of the Pathfinder adventure card game, I do them live on a Monday at 4 o'clock. And I've been doing them for the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks maybe. And I'm going to continue to do them till the campaign is over. Oh, Loki's just joined in. Hello, you. You going to come on camera? Squeak, squeak. Yeah. You going to come up? Yeah. He's so loud. Right, you going to come up? Come on. There you go. Right. Say hello to everybody. This is Loki. Now, what are you doing today? Because the weather outside is not very nice and you've been outside all day. Where have you been? Hey? Right, you're going to go down. He does this. He just comes in every couple of hours. He comes in, he squeak, 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 love, 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 and then he disappears again. Cats, eh? Anyway, Pathfinder adventure card game, brilliant. Really, really enjoying it. Yeah. I'm trying to think. As I say, it still shines at 3 to 4 player, but I've been really enjoying the solo game as well. So it's just got a very, very different feel to it because you have an hourglass made up of 30 cards, and every turn you lose the top card of the deck. So in a solo game, you have 30 turns. If you were playing it 6 players, each player would only have 5 turns. It's a very, very different feel because your deck is your life. And in a 30-turn game, you've really got to manage that. Whereas in a 5-turn game, you're like, well, I've already got 5 turns. You can be a bit more, you can burn through your deck a bit more. Anyway, it really does scale well, but it's very, very different feel. So on the 29th of April and again on the 6th of May, Feast for Odin solo. So every month, I mean, I've been talking about solo playthroughs a lot because I'm doing a lot of them at the moment. But every month, my Patreon supporters vote on which solo playthrough they want to see. So a lot of the solo playthroughs are ones which I want to do. But my Patreon supporters do have an input on that. And last month, they voted on Feast for Odin. So on the 29th of April, I did a solo playthrough of Feast for Odin. That's the one with the magic pigs. But I enjoyed it so much that the week later I did another Feast for Odin live playthrough. So I did a 2 for the price of 1, even though they're free. And Feast for Odin, love it. My favourite game of 2016, probably in my top 10 favourite games of all time. I really, really love it. And I took a very, very different approach. So if you're interested in Feast for Odin solo, that's on the channel. If you want to know what I think about it, I think I did a review of it a few years ago, but yeah, awesome game. Absolutely love it. And would happily play that again. If I wasn't doing all of these other games, I'd happily do Feast for Odin, once a week, every week. Brilliant. On the 29th of April in the evening, I did a video which wasn't streamed. So this is Middle-earth the Wizards, the collectible card game. And I have covered this before on the channel, but I want to cover it more. But the next stage is we leave behind the tutorial decks, and me and Paul actually took 2 pre-constructed decks, which were recommended as good decks to be learning the game with. But we both took 2 decks where we didn't know what was in each other's deck, and we actually played a full game against each other. Now, this was streamed privately to Patreon supporters, but because we're still learning the game, I didn't feel comfortable in putting this out there as a full public stream. The plan was that a week later I would have done that, but everything else has caught up with me and I just haven't got round to it. So Middle-earth the Wizards collectible card game from 1995 it was. Yeah, definitely want to cover it more on the channel, definitely want to play it again. We'll just need to get into it. But we're still learning the game, we're still taking baby steps. It is one of the most complicated games out there. The learning curve is huge and the game is 25 years old, right? And unfortunately, the learning curve it's not just hard, but there are so many different rule sets out there and variants and options. And even us trying to learn the game now and asking on forums and everything, it's like, yeah, it depends which rule set you're using. You could be using that one, but you could use this one. And then there's this one. And then there's this. And we're like, oh, okay. So yeah, we have to decide which rule set we're using. Really enjoyed it. Want to play it more. Hopefully some more content soon. But yeah, we'll see how we get on. On the 30th of April, so this was a Friday, I did another Agamonia video. Now, Agamonia is a game which I've covered on the channel a few times. It was supposed to be going on Kickstarter originally in January of this year, then it was March, then it was May. They have recently announced that Agamonia is going on Kickstarter on September 7th. So at least now we have an actual date to aim for. So September 7th, it's quite a way away. It'll come here quick. Is Agamonia. It is a 1 to 4 player, I think it's 1 to 4 player, fantasy cooperative, story-based adventure game, epic, all of that usual stuff that you see in a lot of other games, but this one is, it's different from the others. I'm professionally involved with the project, so I'm not going to obviously just say, oh, it's amazing, you must go and buy it. But if you're interested, definitely go and check out the videos that I've done on it. Now, there's 3 tutorial missions that come with this game, and I'd previously covered, yes, I know you're here. I've previously covered tutorials 1 and 2 where I have hosted the game. Tutorial 3, we did something different. I actually played in the game myself. So I spoke to the guys at Polyhedron Collider who've been on the show before and played the game with me before. And I got Andy, and me and Andy played that scenario together. So I was actually playing it. I wasn't running it, I wasn't GMing it or anything like that. I was actually playing in the game myself. And that's the first one I've done where I was playing in the game. And I really enjoyed it. And yeah, if you're interested in that, that is on the channel. I expect that video to get a lot more views come September, which is when the game actually goes on Kickstarter. But yeah, looking forward to where that's going. Right, the next thing is something that actually happened over the last month, but it actually happened on, I think, 3 consecutive weekends or something like that. It started off that we were going to do it on the bank holiday weekend at the start of May, but then we missed one of the days and we got distracted and we ended up finishing it the weekend afterwards. And this is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective box 2. Yeah, box 2. It's the blue box and it's the Carlton House and the Queen's Park Affair. I get confused because they released box 3 first, then they released box 1, then they released box 2. So it's the 3rd box that was released, but it's actually box number 2. So Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, I've spoken about this many, many times on the channel. Box 2 contains, I think it's 7 cases, which are like the mansion murders, although 2 of them are not actually based in the mansion, and the Queen's Park Affair. Now, the Queen's Park Affair was an old case, which I actually have the original of upstairs. It was released in a green box in the late 80s, and it was a standalone case that took place over 5 days. It was like a Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective case, but you play 5 of them, and you only get the questions at the very end. It's like one huge case, except it's not just one, there's a few. And I played it in the very late 80s. I'm sure I played it with my parents and a couple of friends, and I remember almost nothing about it. So we decided we'd play it again. And we picked the bank holiday weekend because, as I say, it's one big case. You need to play it in fairly quick succession, otherwise you'll forget everything. And I'm glad we played it, but overall, I don't know whether I can recommend it or not. It was quite long, it was quite hard, and we've really enjoyed a lot of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, especially box 4. Box 4 was brilliant. And I think box 4 has spoiled the rest of them for us, because box 4 was so good. And each case was 2.5 hours, and it was really well written, and the story was good, and the case was good, and we just loved every single one of them. That now that we've gone back to one of the original cases, it's like, oh. And we spent, as I say, we spent day 1 of the case wandering around, following leads, getting all of this information, not really knowing what we were doing. And then at the end of day 1, there is no questions. You just go on to day 2. And then on day 2, we started getting ourselves a bit lost, and new stuff was coming up, and we're like, but that doesn't have anything to do with this. And then on day 3, we got a bit more lost again. Now, we did something that we've never done with this game before. We played the 3 days as you're supposed to play them. We then got the questions at the end of day 3, there were a lot of questions. And then, because if you don't know the game, you only get the questions at the end. And once you've got the questions, that's it. Your game is over. You have to then answer the questions. You are not allowed, once you've been given the questions, to go back and start going to other places, which is exactly what we did. Never done it before, probably will never do it again. But we got these questions and we were reading them and we were like, we've no idea. We've not even heard of this person. We don't know what this is about. We don't know what that's about. So we agreed, not answer the questions, don't look at the answers, put the game away, meet up the next weekend and just spend another hour and a half, just maybe going to some extra places. Because unlike some of the previous cases, you are limited on how many places you can go to, because every place you go to has a time. And once you reach 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, you can't go to any more. So you are limited on the number of places that you can go to. Otherwise, you'd spend a week going everywhere. But we just felt that we hadn't found enough information and we couldn't answer the questions. So we spent about an hour and a half just going to other places with no time restrictions or anything like that. And then we went back to the questions. And we did okay, but it's not like we didn't enjoy it because we didn't do okay. And it's not that we didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed bits of it, but when you read the solution and when you read the things, we're like, well, how are we supposed to work that out? It kind of makes sense, but some of the things were a little bit tenuous and it's like very, very hard to get. As I say, I think we've been spoiled by box 4. Box 4 was just so good. Anything other than box 4 is not as good. And there we go. So that is the Queen's Park Affair for Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective that is included in the blue box. Oh, and also that's the box with all of the Franglais typos, errors, and it was laughable at times because some of the typos were just silly, but it's just off-putting. Right, on the 8th of May, I played Imperium Classics and Imperium Legends. Now, I've covered Imperium again this week. I hosted a game which was the Battle of the Two Designers. So if you want to see the two designers of Imperium, David Turtsey and Nigel Buckle, play against each other, that was on the channel this Wednesday. I haven't logged that as a game that I played because I didn't play it. I just hosted the game between those two. But on the 8th of May, I did play it. I took the afternoon off from rulebook work and I basically did a private stream for my Patreon supporters where I learnt how to play the game and then I played a practice game. And all of this was preparation for the evening where I did an actual live stream of me teaching and then playing the game, okay? And I did 2 streams. I did the first one at 8 o'clock, which was me playing with the solo game. I played, which one did I play? Did I play the Macedonians, I think? I think I played the Macedonians. They're a really easy nation to get started with. And I played against the Persians, who were another relatively easy nation. So I played a solo game of that. And the first video, the one at 8 o'clock, I thought went really well. I thought from a tutorial point of view, I think I did a good job. And I think the video showed off the game well. Then what I did is I had a short 15-minute break, and I came back and I did another video on the same evening as a separate video where I got 2 nations from the Legends box. And I upped the difficulty a bit. And it was a fun stream, but by the end of it, I was in a right state because it was such a struggle. So the nations that I played in the first video, I'd practiced in the afternoon and I was comfortable enough with them to do the stream. In the second stream, I thought it will be fun if I just grab 2 nations that I've not played before from the other box and I will see how they go and learn them on the fly. And oh wow, I got completely befuddled and lost. And thanks, David and Nigel were in the chat helping me out. But yeah, and the thing is, if I'd have done another video right after that where I played those nations again, it would have been as good as the first video, because I needed the first game just to work out how that nation worked and not be confused by the cards. Anyway, Imperium Classics and Imperium Legends, people can buy it now. The official release I think is next week, but I know a number of people have been getting it. I mean, Osprey Games have sponsored a couple of the videos, so I shouldn't really tell you that I think the game's amazing and I want to play it loads more, so I won't do that, but it is. Next up, on the 12th, Too Many Bones Undertow. This is the thing I was going to mention earlier on when I thought, oh no, I'll come back to it later. Because now that I've finished playing a game against all of the original tyrants from the base set of Too Many Bones, I've got loads of other Too Many Bones content. So I decided that I would do Undertow. Undertow was the first Too Many Bones game that I got. And I stand by what I have said many times, is that Too Many Bones Undertow is not a good place to start with the game. It is a cheaper price point, I will give you that, and Too Many Bones is an expensive game. So if price is an issue, you might think, oh, well, I'll get Too Many Bones Undertow because it's a standalone expansion. You can play it on its own. However, I believe that Too Many Bones Undertow is not a good place to start because there is added rules complexity on top of an already complex game that's hard to learn. And it comes with 2 characters, one of which I still can't work out how to play because it's so complicated. Whereas the base game of Too Many Bones, the 4 starting characters, 3 of them are relatively easy, and it doesn't contain the extra rules that Undertow has. So I still think if you are interested in getting Too Many Bones, save your pennies and get the base game. Get Undertow later if you really like it. But yeah, I think Undertow is a harder place to learn the game from. But anyway, that's what I did on the 12th. Because I've been playing it this year, I felt comfortable in going back to Undertow and playing Undertow. And what I did on the 12th is I just did Undertow. So I actually took out all of the base game content and just played with Undertow for those people who only have Undertow. I am due to do Too Many Bones next month again, and that will be a 2-player one, and I'm not sure what I'm going to use yet, but that game was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that game. It was tense, it was epic, there was roller coasters of emotion and everything all the way through that game. One bit went really, really well, then the next bit went horrendous, then the next bit went really well, and I won't spoil it. I won't spoil how it ended if you're interested in watching that, but yeah, fighting Barnacle at the end was was pretty epic. It was close. Let me just tell you this, it was close. Right, continuing with Chip Theory Games content, on the 14th, I did a solo playthrough of Hoplomachus Victorum. Now, Hoplomachus Victorum finished on Kickstarter in the early hours of this morning and made them, they did really well with it. And Shannon from Chip Theory Games contacted me and said, as part of the Kickstarter campaign, would you be happy to do some coverage for us? So on the evening of the 14th, I spent a couple of hours with me and Shannon playing on Tabletop Simulator, which was basically Shannon teaching me how to play the game and then me playing it. And what was really interesting about that stream is from about halfway through, I don't think Shannon was needed that much. I mean, she kept me company, she helped me out with a couple of things, but by the time we'd done a couple of games, small games of it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm rolling now, and you could pick it up. It's not actually an overly complicated game, is Hoplomachus Victorum. I learned the core concepts and I learned the basics. Anyway, if you're interested in the game, the Pledge Manager will be opening soon. So although the Kickstarter's finished, the Pledge Manager will be opening soon. I'd recommend going and checking out that. And of course, Ricky Royal's done some videos as well, which are fantastic, as always. But I think my video gives you a good overview of what the game is from a high level. Then we play some of the small, actual little mini games within the big game. And then we go back to the wide scale at the end and cover how the whole thing fits together. I was really happy with the video. And yeah, in 90 minutes, a couple of hours, I think it was a couple of hours, I think it gives a good overview of what the game is. Hoplomachus was Chip Theory Games' first game. It had a few expansions and stuff like that. And Hoplomachus Victorum is a new done version of it, but Victorum specifically is a solo game only, where you are, a great fighter in like 79 AD or something like that, and you've been set this series of challenges by the god Pluto, and yeah, you got to travel around this world and take part in these fights, and your character progresses. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Very different. It has that Chip Theory Games DNA in that Too Many Bones and Cloudspire and Hoplomachus Victorum. Bone Cycle is a bit different, so we'll leave that one out of it for now. But those three games, and certainly there's a lot of variables, but a small variable can have a big impact. So for example, in Too Many Bones, you'll have a particular map layout, and then you'll draw some enemy baddies, and you'll be like, oh, it's that one, and that one. And because it's those, and because of this special effect, and because of this character, you end up with a unique situation, okay? And Cloudspire is also similar, which I didn't think was going to be the case with Cloudspire. But with Cloudspire, you're like, oh, right, okay, well, because we've got that, and we've got this, and because this tile is oriented that way, and on the surface, Cloudspire is like, well, why wouldn't this be the same game every time? And it's not, because you change a little bit, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we need to really think about this. And that was my impression from Hoplomachus Victorum as well, is you have a particular arena, you have a particular type of fight, you have particular enemy units, you have particular skills, and you put all of them together and you're like, oh, this is going to be different. Now, that's the only time I played it on that stream, but the people in the chat were saying what I experienced, they've never seen before. The type of layout and the type of game that we played was quite unique. So that's really cool. That means that the game's going to have quite a lot of legs with a lot of variability and stuff like that. Anyway, that's that. And then finally, the last game that I played in this period of this monthly roundup is Star Wars Imperial Assault. So, May the 4th, 2020 was a date in our diaries that Rick was going to come over and we were going to play Imperial Assault all day to celebrate Star Wars Day. Then, COVID-19 happened and we weren't able to do it. So we rearranged Star Wars Day for May the 4th, 2021. Unfortunately, due to lockdown restrictions in the UK, that couldn't happen. So we delayed it even further, and for us, we celebrated Star Wars Day 375 days late, 379 days late, whatever. Anyway, Rick came round on Wednesday, we played Star Wars Imperial Assault all day. Loved it, really good, lot of fun. Definitely want to play it again, and the videos are on the channel now if you're interested. We did, I did two parts. We did a video in the morning, then we broke for lunch, and then we came back in the afternoon and did another video. So yeah, if you're interested in watching me and Rick play Star Wars Imperial Assault, and we played it from the start. We literally played it from the start. We opened up the tutorial and we just learned how to play right from the start. So, you know, the first video that I did get a very negative comment on the YouTube video to say, wow, you guys don't even know the rules of the game. Why didn't you read the rules first? You're forgetting that you can do this, this, and this. Yeah. And that was a comment on the first part of the video, and the comment started off by, I've only watched half your video, but... So, and this was puzzling, right? This is somebody who watched the first half of that video where it was clearly me and Rick going through the tutorial, learning how to play the game with the app telling us step by step the rules of the game, and this person was complaining that we didn't know the rules of the game and we weren't doing some of the things. Now, the specific thing that they mentioned is they said, don't you realise that all of your characters can spend strain to move spaces on the board? That hadn't been explained to us at that point in the tutorial. As soon as it was explained to us, we did it loads of times. And this is the thing, you know, I get negative comments on the video a few times, but this one kind of amused me because I'm like, well, if you'd have actually watched the second video, we were actually doing, you know, at the point we were taught that rule, we then started teaching that rule. But yeah, this person, I don't know. It's just one of those things. Anyway, Star Wars Imperial Assault. I'm actually going to put some pictures on screen now because Vicky made us some really, really nice Star Wars themed things. So we had pizza to start with. So we had the Death Star pizza. Then we had the Wookiee cookies. These came out really well. So yeah, thanks to Vicky for making these. We've still got some left actually. But these are Wookiee cookies. These came out really well. And then we've got little Stormtrooper marshmallows, which are really, really cute. So yeah, so thanks to Vicky for making them. That was really good Star Wars Day. And that is all of the games that I've played since the last monthly roundup video log. Whew. Right, moving on. Other videos that have been on my channel in the last few weeks. well, the how to play video for Keeper at Sea. That went live in the last few weeks, apparently. I thought I'd done that ages ago, but according to my list here, that went live in the last 4 weeks. Also, another how to play video. This is for Fjordar, if that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. That's actually going on Kickstarter next week, I think. So yeah, so there's a how to play video on my channel now. It's done by Russell Chapman from For Chits and Giggles. It's really good, and the Kickstarter's going live next week. So yeah, that's that. Other videos, I've not been doing many other videos. I've not done really any unboxings or anything like that. I have been very busy with other stuff. So, rulebooks, I've been working on the Endless Winter rulebook in the last couple of weeks. The core rulebook is now finished, done, dusted. Thanks to everybody for their help with that one. I'm now working with Johnny Pat Cantin on the rulebooks for the solo game and also for all of the expansions, the Rivers and Rafts expansion, the Cave Paintings expansion, and all of the other expansions. So I'm working on them at the moment. We're working on Hybris Disordered Cosmos. That rulebook is still going ahead. The base game rulebook is almost getting there and done, although we found a problem with it this week that I need to fix. I've been helping Chip Theory Games with Burn Cycle, and I've been going back to Frostpunk, because Frostpunk needs now to be finalised and finished off. So I've been working on those rulebooks as well in the last few weeks. Right, Patreon update. So another very, very odd month for the Patreon update. And I remember saying this last time. I remember recording last month's video log, and I said, unfortunately, Patreon support has been dropping. And that's just the reality of how things go. There's an ebb and there's a flow, but overall, over time, it's been gradually increasing. But I know when I recorded this video log last month, I said Patreon support has been on a steady decline for the last 10 days or something like that. Now, since doing that video log, a lot of people started supporting me on Patreon. Whether they started supporting me because they saw the video or not, I don't know. But I'm going to say the same thing now. It's really weird. In the last 2 weeks, Patreon support has been dropping. And right now, this month, we're at a negative. Now, I'm not complaining, but it's just really interesting that last month I said Patreon support was dropping, and then as soon as the video went out, I got a whole load of new Patreon supporters, and then since then it's been on a gradual decline again. So I think I found the solution. I'm going to do a video log every day. So that's what I'm going to do. Every day I'm going to do a video log and say Patreon support has been dropping. No, I'm joking. But I take time away from my paid work to create the content, and it's actually quite difficult when I'm motivated to carry on making more content to see that the Patreon support is going down. It's just a psychological thing, but as I said, overall I'm happy with it, and I'm happy with obviously the people who do contribute to the channel and keep supporting me, so thank you very much. Speaking of people who have supported me, on screen now is all of the people who've supported me since the last video log. So yeah, huge thank you to all of you and to those people who have increased their support. And you might think, well, hang on a minute, didn't Paul just say Patreon support has been dropping? Well, and now there's a big list of all of these people that have started supporting him. Yes, it's more people have left than have started supporting me. And I'm not going to put up the names of the people who no longer support me, but it's a bigger list than the list that I've just put on screen. So there you go. That's just to explain why I'm saying, oh, Patreon support has been dropping, but here's a big list of all of the people who've started supporting me. Yeah, there are people who drop their support for various reasons. Now, in terms of the contest, every month I do a giveaway. And last month I was giving away a copy of Stroganoff. This is by Andreas Stedding, published by Game Brewer. The game is not out. The game was on Kickstarter, but the game isn't out yet. But Game Brewer agreed to give me an extra copy of the game when it does come out. And I did the draw, and Vic Gabry won. I've been in contact with Vic. Congratulations, Vic, and thank you for your continued Patreon support. I've passed your details on to Game Brewer, so when the game comes out, I'll get a copy of the game, which I want to cover on the channel, and Vic will get a copy of the game as well. This month's contest is for a game that I've already mentioned. This is for Fjordar, or Fjordar, however you want to pronounce it. Apologies for butchering the pronunciation of the game. This is the game that Russell did the how to play video for that is on my channel now. I will be doing an actual live tutorial and playthrough video of it next Friday on the 28th. 28th? Is it the 28th already? Yeah, it's the 21st today. So on the 28th of May, I'll be doing a live tutorial and playthrough. The Kickstarter is going live on that day, but one of my Patreon supporters is going to win a copy of the game. Now, if you are a patron supporter of mine, at the end of this month, you are automatically entered into the contest to win it. So you don't need to do anything. You don't need to fill in any forms. You don't need to apply or anything like that. But if you are a patron supporter of mine at producer level or higher, at the end of this month, you get automatically entered into the contest. And I will do the draw at the start of the next month. And I'm doing it this way round. This is a much better way of doing it, because if you were interested in backing the game, then you're going to know whether you've won the contest or not before the Kickstarter ends. So yeah, so that's the game. So that's what I'll be doing. And as I say, if you're watching this video and you've thought about supporting the channel before and you haven't got round to it, and you want to be in with a chance of winning a copy of the game, then maybe this is the month to start supporting me. It's up to you. Let me know. Right, next plans. What am I doing for the next few weeks? Well, I will be continuing my Pathfinder Adventure card game series every Monday, 4 o'clock, because I'm loving it. Really, really loving it. The downside is I want to play it again. Not only do I want to play it again solo with a different character, I want to play it multiplayer. So maybe I should do a Kickstarter campaign to take the week off work and just play Pathfinder Adventure card game. It's a shame that the publisher has effectively discontinued the game, but I'm really loving it. There should be another top 10 video at some point. This is, if Mike Fitzgerald is watching this video, hi Mike, apologies, this is one of the things that has just slipped by in the last couple of weeks, and it's been on the list of things to do. But I will be doing another top 10 video. It will be with Mike Fitzgerald. It will be on deck building games. I just need to sort out the admin and the filming of it and everything else. I will be doing another solo game this month. It will be probably next week. If not next week, it will be the Monday afterwards. And my Patreon supporters right now are voting on what game it's going to be. Cloudspire is currently winning, but it's up to my Patreon supporters what I'm going to be doing. Tonight, I'm going to be doing a live tutorial and playthrough of Paris L'Etoile. I think that's how you pronounce it. Paris is another game from Game Brewer, designed by Kramer and Kiesling. Great game. I did a video for the original game, for the base game, and it's going back to Kickstarter Monday. It's going live again on Monday. They've got a small expansion for it, and I'm doing a live video tonight. Nick and Gemma are coming round tonight, and that's going to be live on the channel now. So you're probably watching this after the Paris video has gone out, but if you want to go back and watch it, there it is. Next Wednesday, Dan is coming round. A friend of mine, Dan, who I've known for many, many years, is coming round next Wednesday, and I'm going to say finishing my coverage of Imperium. Imperium, the game that I mentioned earlier on, card game, David Turtsey, Nigel Buckle, the one that I said was really good, but I honestly didn't say that. Yeah, so Dan's coming round next Wednesday. I say finished my coverage. I agreed with Osprey Games that I would cover the solo game, that I would host a game between Nigel and David, and then I would do an in-person 2-player playthrough. They are 3 videos, or yeah, first one actually turned out to be 2 videos, but they're the 3 pieces of work that I've agreed to do for Osprey Games on that. It will not be the end of my coverage of Imperium. I can guarantee that, because I love the game and I want to play it more. Okay, so there will be more coverage of Imperium, but aside from that, the work that I've agreed with Osprey was for these 3 videos, but there will be more of them. So yeah, next Wednesday, Dan's coming round, and we're going to be playing some games of Imperium, and possibly something else. We'll find out. It depends how long he's here for. For Jordar, as I mentioned, next Friday, the 28th, live tutorial and playthrough of that. The Monday after will be the Q&A. So my monthly Q&A is normally on the last Wednesday of every month, but because Dan's coming around next Wednesday and we're doing Imperium, I've moved the Q&A to the 31st of May. So that'll be happening then. At the start of June, and I can tell you this now because this will be happening before the next video log, is a friend of mine, Ben Martin. He lives in Exeter. He's coming round on Saturday, the 5th of June, with his copy of War of the Ring fully painted. Okay, now I've played War of the Ring once, first edition, and I enjoyed it, but the first edition had problems. Ben's got second edition, and it's all painted. So that's happening on the Saturday, the 5th of June. Put the date in your diaries. Computer games, I've got a couple of computer games that I need to cover at some point in the next week or 2. I've got Dorf Romantic, that seems quite popular and a lot of people have been playing that. And I've got Siege Survival Gloria Victis, which went live on Steam on the 18th. Now, I've played an early version of it and I really liked it, so I agreed with them that I would do some coverage once the game comes out. Anyway, a couple of computer games are going to be covered on the channel soon. Right, next up, the last bit, some personal news. Now, as I've mentioned in the other stuff, lockdown is starting to ease in the UK. So as of this week, you are legally allowed to have round 6 people from different households. That's what you're allowed to do. We're not doing that. We're being naughty and we're having 30 people round. Right now, I'm having a Mage Night tournament in the... No, I'm kidding. We're taking it a lot easier. So Rick came over on Wednesday. Tonight, Nick and Gemma are coming round. And next Wednesday, Dan's coming round. We are not having people round at the moment from more than one household at a time. Okay? Ben Martin is coming round on Saturday the 5th. The week after that, Emily's coming round to play Too Many Bones. And then Rob Turner's coming round on the Friday. So we're spacing it out. Now, we're taking it easy. At some point later on, if things continue to go the way they are going in the UK, we will probably start having people round from multiple households. But we're taking it a bit easier at the moment than you're allowed to do. Other things that have been going on, GridCon, the convention which me and Vicky organise. I've been putting quite a lot of work on that. It's taken, about 2.5, 3 days out of my time in the last couple of weeks. GridCon is officially running in November, but it's going to be running for 5 days. It's going to be running Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, so if you are interested in coming to GridCon, unfortunately it has sold out. There is a waiting list, which at the moment is available for patron supporters. So if you're interested in attending and you want to get on the waiting list, please let me know. But also, if you are not sure if you've got a ticket for GridCon, because GridCon 2 was supposed to happen November 2019. And a few people have contacted me in the last week and said, can I just check to see if I've got a ticket? Because I don't know. In fact, one person, a friend of mine, a local friend of mine, contacted me and said, oh, it's really a shame that I haven't got a ticket. Can I go on the waiting list? And I went, you have got a ticket and you paid for it. It's all yours. And he was like, oh, I didn't realise. So if you're not sure, just let me know, okay? Because what I don't want is I don't want to get to November and 30 people not turn up who've paid for a ticket because they'd forgotten they've got a ticket. So if you're not sure, please let me know. But that's happening at the end of November. Other personal news, I am filming this video in the dining room. Big plant, cabinet. Observant ones among you might have realised that I have actually done video logs filmed in the dining room before, but the walls were blue. The walls are no longer blue, the walls are now buttermilk. But this wasn't the easy job that you think it was. We've been through a bit of an experience in the last few weeks, and I'm going to put some pictures on screen. So, because the walls were a dark blue, and we wanted them to be buttermilk, we thought it's probably going to need a white undercoat first because the blue was really strong. In the garage, we found a tub of old white emulsion. Now, it was B&Q Value Emulsion, and we don't know how long it's been in there, but we opened it up, we stirred it, and we were like, well, this looks all right. It's not very good paint, okay? It's Value Emulsion. It's really cheap paint, but all we're doing is we're doing an undercoat. So it'll be fine because we're going to be painting over it. It doesn't matter. So we obviously did all of the usual stuff. We put all the newspapers down, the masking tape and everything else. We moved everything else and we did one coat everywhere with this emulsion. Now, it was awful, right? It wasn't coating properly and we thought, well, that's because it's Value Emulsion. It's really cheap. And we just put it on everywhere and we let it dry. And then we looked at it and we thought, it's probably going to need a second coat of the white. Yeah, this is not covered enough because the buttermilk was good quality, expensive paint. So we put another coat of the white on and something very unusual happened. The second coat of the white basically turned the first coat of the white back into liquid. So it didn't bring off the original blue paint. The original blue paint is still on the walls. But although the new paint, the cheap white Value Emulsion seemed to go on and seemed to dry, there was something wrong with it. And when you go over it again with a second coat, it just started to bring it off. Anyway, we're quite stubborn. So we did the whole room again, right? And in the corners, we were dabbing it on really thick, okay? So after 2 days, we now have a room which is covered in this white Value Emulsion, and it still wasn't looking right. And then we thought something's not right here. And then what we did is we did a couple of tests. And if you get your hand, dip it in water, put it on the wall, and then just wipe it, it came off. And we're like, oh no. So what's happened here is if we now put the buttermilk on, it's actually going to dissolve the white paint and it's going to completely mess. So we bought some better white paint, some proper white emulsion, and we started putting that on, and the same problem. That started bringing off all of the old stuff. So basically we spent a week taking off all of the white paint, which took hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and was more exercise than we've got in the last year. But it was wet towels, rubbing all of the walls and everything else. And basically we spent a whole week taking off all of the white emulsion that we put on. It was painful and it took absolutely ages. And then once we'd done that, we then put on a coat of the new white emulsion, and then we did the 2-3 coats of the buttermilk. And here we go. The room is now done, although we do need some new curtains. What an experience we've had. Anyway, yeah, so don't do that. Don't do that. That's about it. I've not been doing much mini painting recently. And in fact, I wasn't sure whether to talk about this, but I've been having a lot of issues over the last few weeks. Some of which I've been talking about on my Slack channel for gaming rule supporters. And I don't really want to start going into the details here, but obviously with the videos that I do, the board game videos that I do, I want them to come across as all happy, all positive, all smiling, everything's great. And with these videos, I want these to be generally positive. I've been really struggling. The last few weeks for me, my mental health issues have been extremely difficult. And yeah, I'm not going to go into the full details here, but I want to be honest, I want to be open, I want to be transparent, but I also don't want to be all, negative on my board game videos. The board game videos should be positive. They should be there, but I kind of, without going into details, I just want people to know that life is not super happy and I'm doing great. I'm not doing great. I'm actually struggling quite a lot. And yeah, thank you to all of my Patreon supporters on the Slack channel for helping me through some of the difficult times. So anyway, yes, moving on. Let's try and end on a positive. Thank you very much for watching. As mentioned, a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for making this video and a lot of the other videos that I make possible. It is true that some of the videos that I create are sponsored videos, but a lot of them are not. And that's what the Patreon funding is for. And with the Patreon funding, I'm encouraged and I'm more enthusiastic about making even more content for people to watch. And I want to be doing that more and more as time goes on. So yeah, lots to look forward to over the next few weeks. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I will see you next time. Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.